All right, what's cracking, everybody? So today, I heard I heard a thing or two about. I actually heard very little about what Joe Rogan said about video games. Now, I wanted to go into this clean, but I needed to find the right clip. Well, I had to watch some of it, and I watched about half of the clip of what Joe Rogan said. But so right here is what I watched. Joe Rogan's full comments on kids playing video games, and that's actually on his official channel, JRE Clips. And he says, if we'll go into the clip, but he says if a kid doesn't have a lot in his life, a lot of people to look up to, that's what he's going to go into. And I don't think that's unfair. And let's look at what Michael Knowles says.
In Joe Rogan.
Well, I don't know. I don't think what Michael Knowles says is important because I'm pretty sure he's not going to be down with it. But whatever. Let's forget him. Excuse me. God bless you, Michael Knowles. I don't know who you are. God bless you. But this isn't about your opinion. I just want to show where a lot of people are picking up on what Joe Rogan was saying.
Do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
See, so this is where people are picking up. They're not allowing Joe to, because Joe actually does. Yeah,
why? Because they're.
That I have got to defend video games, but I do. Take a listen to Joe's point.
Video games are a real problem. They're a real problem. You know why? Because they're fun,
Addictive.
And you don't. Yeah. Well, I have a real problem with them. And you do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
Right.
It's like you could do like martial arts, right? You could learn Jiu Jitsu. You get obsessed by Jiu Jitsu, and then 3 years later, you're like an elite Jiu Jitsu athlete. You're like.
So, on its own, that's a pretty ridiculous statement. But let's start at the beginning because I think people are starting there, but they didn't hear this. And I'm probably going to disagree with Joe Rogan in the end on this topic, but let's just watch this.
The Joe Rogan experience.
And I'm already kind of baked, so.
There were a ton of kids along the way growing up as I was building my business that would say, oh, I'm not into this, I'm not into that, kind of like you described yourself.
Yeah.
And they don't do anything because they're looking for that thing. And I would argue, do something. Do fucking something until you find that thing.
Yeah, I've never been that kid though. I mean, I've always been into things. I was into art, or I was into something. I always found things that I was interested in. Just none of them seemed like they were normal things that other people wanted to do for a living.
Now I'm not putting words in his mouth here. I don't want anyone to think that like people that play video games are not into other things. Like I've met plenty of people who were into video games because it was sort of, there was so many different types of stories and so much variety in the genres of games. And so there are people these are guys that like to rock climb and guys that were into sci-fi and guys that were into, most of them I knew were guys. There's women that play games too, but this is back in the day, most of my gaming time. But, I don't want people to think that gamers are just into games.
Like the path, like a career path. But I think that there's a lot of people that don't have any, there's no one, they're not modeling their life after someone that they see that they admire. Someone that's successful, someone that is doing something that they enjoy and love.
See, I don't know if that's completely true. Like, I don't think, no, I think that, okay, so I think these two are talking, I hope they're talking about the bad examples of kids that just play video games all day and don't like learn any skills, because like you can still go into a video game related career path or like some kind of entertainment related career path, and you could get there based on your inspiration that you derive from video games and the art that's found in video games. Because let's not forget, like video games are art just as much as anything else.
Sometimes kids have to see that, and if they,
I think he's right. Like I think part of it goes along with hobbies, though. Like, if young people don't have someone that's going to take them places and show them or cool hobbies, at cool skills. No, you know, if you don't have anyone adding that to your life, like you gotta have someone to kind of, I won't say give these things to you or bring these things to you, but a kid isn't gonna, not every kid has a car, not every kid has the time to get around, not every kid has the people in their life. So, and I think he kind of goes into that a little bit.
Parents are living a bullshit life, and their neighbors live in a bullshit.
Let's go back.
A lot of people that don't have any, there's no one, they're not modeling their life after someone that they see that they admire. Someone that's successful, someone that is doing something that they enjoy and love. Sometimes kids have to see that. And if their parents are living a bullshit life, and their neighbors live in a bullshit life, and most of their family lives a bullshit life, they just fucking lay around, and then they seek refuge in drugs or video games or something that stimulates them. And video games are...
It definitely helps to know successful people in life, but I don't know if that's sort of up to you. You can try to get out there and rub shoulders, but like when you're growing up, like the circle that you're in is kind of, it's sort of hard to get out there when you're just a kid. You're not gonna. Well, I wasn't running around on the bus or whatever on my own. Like my parents wouldn't let me do that.
A real problem. They're a real problem. Why? Because
teenager,
they're fucking fun.
Addictive.
And you don't. Yeah. Well, I have a real problem with them. And you do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
Right.
It's like you could do like martial arts, right? You could learn Jiu Jitsu. You get obsessed by Jiu Jitsu, and then 3 years later, you're like an elite Jiu Jitsu athlete. You're entering in competitions. You're a purple.
I think that's a huge leap. It doesn't matter how into jiu-jitsu. I mean, being super okay. If you're super into jiu-jitsu compared to a little bit into jiu-jitsu, I bet the motivated person's probably going to get a little farther. But like, to just say like, oh, you could get super into jiu-jitsu and then this great success could fall into your lap, like that's quite a leap to assume the athletic path is going to suddenly, just rain success upon you because you chose it over video games. I don't understand.
Belt.
You're moving up.
Yeah, you're doing well. You're thinking like, I might be able to open my own school one day.
You got confidence.
Yeah, if I have 100 students and those 100 students are paying me X amount of dollars per month, I can make a living. Holy shit, I can have this would be amazing. And then you see your jiu-jitsu school.
There are people in the video game field that are teachers. There are people that are in choreography that are teachers, and these people will go on to work in video games. There are artists that are teachers, and these people will go on to work in video games. There are a lot of jobs connected to producing a game. The bigger the game, the more jobs you're going to need.
And your jiu-jitsu instructor has all these students and drives a Mercedes and he's got a nice family and that's the future. This way you're doing something exciting and fun and you don't. Or you could just be playing fucking video games. 3 years later, you could be that same kid just playing video games, waiting for the next whatever the fuck game is, next Xbox game to come out, and you're gonna.
I hope that he is specifically talking about kids that don't have shit in their life. Because if you don't have shit in your life, it's gonna be a lot harder to expand your life if you don't have opportunities in front of you. Like, life is opportunities, and some people get more than others. And I've taken the opportunities that I've had at my disposal, and the ones that I fucking kicked ass to get. But I don't hang out with a lot of millionaires. I know people that have been offered jobs that they're not qualified for, and they make a lot of money, and they probably wouldn't get that job if they were just in the field and looking for a job. If you work for a corporation, good luck if you want morality. It's like there are a handful of companies out there I look at and I'm like, okay, they're doing the right thing. But just a lot of big companies got there by doing dirty things. and it goes deep. It goes pretty far up and down the ladder. So, you know, I don't even remember where the fuck I started with all that. Oh yeah, but this assumption that like taking the path of getting your ass kicked is going to reward you. It's not true. A lot of people just get brain damage. Joe Rogan, I've listened to enough of his shows to know he didn't continue fighting hard in competitions because he knew he'd get his ass whooped and it would do damage even if he was winning most of the time. He said, I can't remember who he said he was sparring with, when he said he got cracked real good a couple times, and he said, okay, this is real. So fighting often does not pay off, and often causes people to lose their minds and go berserk. Like, I'm not necessarily going to say that's what happened to Chris Benoit, but concussions don't help.
Waste your time.
You have children. I have children, and it's a big battle in the house.
Yes.
And my kids, I don't know if you're going through this, but my kids are now saying, well, Dad, this guy made all this money with this video game. He's
That's
a man.
real too. That's
Right?
real too now.
So like, that's 1 in a billion, kid. Like,
I don't know.
I think he's right. Like, if you're shooting for the competition gamer, you could probably still fully or really commit yourself to that, and also commit yourself to learning other things, learning other trade-related things involved with video games. I think being involved in that could help you. But you know, you gotta like be about education too. You can't. It's kind of like expecting to be in the NBA or expecting to be in the UFC. You know, you gotta have a backup plan. He's not saying that in this video. He's not being well-rounded about his approach. He's kind of being a little fuck video games about it.
I don't know if it's 1 in a billion, but you know.
By the way, these T-shirts are not helping their stance. And that's all I'm gonna say.
I heard the same argument about comedy. My own parents were like, "Do you know how few people make it as a comedian?" I was like, "Okay, does anybody make it? Somebody makes it, right? They figure out how to do it. They make a living. I'm gonna do that. Just stop." Like,
So, this is one thing that really makes my shit boil, is when a very successful person just assumes if you're motivated, you're gonna be successful. Like, you need a backup plan. Like, they have not used the term backup plan, either of them. You cannot expect to be the next Michael Jordan. I mean, you can, okay, take that back. You can expect to be the next Michael Jordan. You better be somewhere, if it falls apart, where you can fucking steer that car back on the road and keep going. Otherwise, you're gonna have to take a big ass U-turn. Shooting for your goals and not having a backup plan, that's some real California bullshit that he's weirdly enough going on in the middle of this boomer rant.
I know what I'm doing. I was real lucky that my parents were not around very much, so I didn't get much advice. So I figured it out myself. So there was no one telling me I couldn't do it. So
green fields.
I don't know that there are as many people saying you can't do this compared. I mean, yeah, there is that, but like, I think like it's more practical to say, go ahead and believe you can do this, but be ready if you fail. You know, does no one say this? I say this.
I was like, I'm gonna find my way through this, and since no one's telling me it's impossible, no one's telling me I can't. Occasionally, I would hear someone say, "What are the odds?" I'm like, "Listen, to this fucking loser." That's my thought. Was always like, that guy's a loser. Like, if you think like that, you're a loser. But
Joe always had all these comedian friends to hang out with. He's had a lot of support in life. Like, I don't know if Joe would have been where he's at without all these pretty successful comedians that he was hanging out with. Probably he's the most successful out of most of the comedians he hangs with. And look, man, I don't think Joe Rogan's very funny most of the time. I think on occasion his comedy kills me, and I think he's actually funnier on this podcast. But it's just, I don't know. But there's comedy that makes me fucking fall out of my chair. It's hard. It's hard for me. I don't know. But I don't think he's very funny most of the time. That's fine. I'm not knocking him. You know, it's all opinion. Everyone else thinks I'm crazy, but like he's not. Joe Rogan is not at the top of comedians, like as far as how much money he makes for his comedy. Like he's not Richard Pryor, he's not Robin Williams, he's not, he does a good job. He's not, he's very fortunate to be the level that he's at, considering he's kind of top of the world when it comes to comedians. Like, and I think a big part of that is because of the popularity of his podcast. But like, he's got a lot of avenues to get eyeballs on him, and then also I don't know. I like his podcast. He ain't. Fuck, I think Joey Diaz is funnier than he is most of the time.
There are kids.
I don't want to say I don't like Joe Rogan, but like he's talking big about comedy skill, and a lot of people are idiots. I don't know. A lot of people will laugh at a lot of things.
You go a lot of fucking money playing video games. But the thing is, like, you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to play multiple video games, because the one video game that you get really good at, what are the odds that's going to be around 5 years from now?
Right.
You know, like, what's the big one now? Like Fortnite? Is that? Do they make money?
I mean, yeah, but adaptable. You just pick another game in the same genre. I think you'd be okay. How adaptable do you need to be if you're that good?
Money off of that? Yeah. And then there's Call of Duty. They make money off that. What's the big money? StarCraft used to be the big one, right?
That, League of Legends, Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike is it's still the Half-Life.
StarCraft.
Yeah, variations of it have come out, but it's still basically the same exact game.
They don't make money off Quake, though, right? Not really.
Nah, really.
No.
A couple, one or two guys do, I think.
Yeah, see, it's you gotta pick the right game. You know, you could be
The way
obsessed
to
with
do it
it.
is spend
Shut up.
5-10 hours a day in that
You
house.
have to.
Right.
You would have to.
I don't know, man. I think his first 2 minutes were better than the rest. I think he started out pretty practical, and then he went full boomer at the end. Bottom line is, yeah, if you don't have quality people in your life to kind of motivate you and put some positive energy and direct you, you may just be that kid that plays video games all day, but like, you can turn a hobby into a career if you just fucking keep your head right about it. I don't know, smoke a bunch of weed and get creative. Like, I wish I was smoking weed when I was younger. I would have been more creative. That's what I say. Like, I don't think Joe Rogan's arguments are very good here. He doesn't really leave me with much to say, except he's had people on his fucking show that have careers in video games, right? And to look at these people in the eye, very, very, very successful people that have been working in video games for decades, some of them, to forget that he had those long conversations and to forget what he learned. Like, I think the problem is when he has another redneck in the room. Excuse me. When he has a redneck in the room talking redneck talk. Like, oh, man. Get outside to get some exercise. Newfangled video games. It's balance. You know, there's a thing called balance. I don't really know. I guess the problem is I can't fully understand who they're talking about here. Are they talking about the kid that plays games all day? Are they being general about games? It's hard to say. It's hard to say what he really means here. But man, he should clarify, because he looks like a goober right now, and I don't know. Just a lot of the shit that he says about success, and it just kind of is. This video makes him look a lot less educated and open-minded than he did immediately before he said all that because I think I just kind of, I don't know. I thought he was a more well-rounded guy before all this.